Questions so far? I know I went really fast here at the beginning. I want to make sure everyone's tracking with me. What do we think?
Is the new Edgar published yet?
The new Edgar, there's not a book form of it, so I'm holding the old Edgar in my hand. I have actually not received a new Edgar book. Our firm is putting together one, and they should have it ready, I want to say, in like 2 weeks. So we just missed it for this training, unfortunately. But yeah, if you are interested in purchasing a new Edgar book, you can go to our firm's website. My contact information is on the thing, and I think they're $35 each or something. But it is in the Federal Register, though, so you can go online and see the actual language. Any other questions? So we got old Edgar, we got new Edgar. If I use old Edgar, new Edgar, that's going to be like clear enough for most people here? Okay. So I do not have it written down, but I have my email, so I can send it to you really easily if you want to. I'm sorry, to repeat the question, he asked for the citation, the Federal Register citation, and I don't have that memorized right now, so I just need an email and I can send that to you, no problem. You can Google Uniform Grants Guidance, and that would help.
So the blue binder or blue covered Edgar will be obsolete effective
July 1. So the question is, the blue, like if some of you own this book that I have in my hand, I think, apparently, and if you own this book, it becomes somewhat obsolete starting July 1, 2015.
Tell me what the somewhat means.
Well, some of the language has not changed. And there are parts, in fact, well, let's talk about that. Do I have a slide on that? I guess not. Okay, well, let me just tell you then. In Edgar, we have the administrative requirements that have changed. We have the cost principles that have changed. And we have the audit requirements that have changed. But in addition to those parts of Edgar, there were also rules on direct grants that you received from the Department of Education in Part 75. And there were rules in Part 76 on state-administered programs. And so Part 76 applies to Perkins, right? Those rules and regulations came from a document called, or from a statute called the General Education Provisions Act, or GEPA, which is a separate statute, not based on an OMB circular. That statute has not changed, so that therefore Part 75 has not changed, Part 76 has not changed, and in addition, there's a part on enforcement in Part 81 of Edgar that has not changed. So parts of Edgar are the same. Parts of it have been revised by this OMB, the Omni Circular. That's why it's somewhat obsolete is the answer. But if you buy a new book, it'll be all the current stuff. The Federal Register will only include the new things. It will not mention. Right. Right. Yes.
Just to establish the hierarchy of order here. For all awards received prior to December 26, 14, we look first of all to the program-specific statutes, and then to Edgar.
So let me repeat for everyone. Your current award you have, right? Any award you've received before December, so I'm assuming everyone in this room has got some Perkins funds. They have those awards. Those are subject to the Perkins statute and the current form of Edgar's, right? So the current administrative and cost principles and audit principles and state-administered requirements that are found in Edgar.
So the program-specific statute always supplants anything in Edgar if that matter is addressed.
The program statute will, even currently, always will supersede the less specific requirement, which would be the administrative regulations.
Bonnie, my question was, if we have an award letter coming out this spring say, February for redistribution of the remaining dollars, will we be looking at the Omni circular for all the new component pieces, even though it's not July 1st yet?
So the question is on a redistribution of, of an award that comes out this spring. Will that count towards the new rules, or do we follow the old rules? And what I would say is the state will let you know.
The award letter will say.
Mm-hmm. The award letter will say. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions so far? Okay. So let's, these slides primarily talk about the differences between current rule, or I should say old rule and new rule, right? One thing that is actually pretty helpful is there's a long list of definitions in the new Omni Circular. There are 99 definitions. I'm not going to go through 99 definitions with you guys here today. We'll never make it out of here. But I did put in a list of the definitions that we think you might find interesting or that you might want to pay attention to. One that I want to point out on this page or this slide is computing devices. So computing devices is a new defined term in the Omni Circular. And the reason this comes up is because there was a lot of back and forth and confusion as to whether or not your tablets, your iPhones, your iPods had to be treated like equipment and inventoried, or whether they could be considered supplies and not part of your inventory system. Have any of you dealt with this issue? Yes, right? A couple, right. So we have a new category in addition to supplies as defined and equipment as defined. Now we have computing devices defined, and it is defined as supplies. If it's under $5,000, it's defined as supplies. Now everyone in here is thinking that means, yes, I am no longer required to track my computing devices, right? No. No, no, no. I'm sorry to spoil the excitement that was just thrown at me there for a minute. Unfortunately, you are going to still be required to have some tracking. It doesn't necessarily have to be your formal equipment tracking system, but there's this little thing called internal controls. Have any of you heard of internal controls? Few of you, maybe? Yes. And we'll talk more about that once we get to it, but I will say that the monitoring reports, the audit reports that have issued findings, the most recent one was just a couple months ago, related to tablets and other computing devices, they're not citing the equipment rules when they issue those findings and say you have to track those items. They cite to your internal controls provision. And they say, you know what, computing devices, they tend to disappear, right? They tend to get stolen, and they tend to be a huge expense to our federal grants. Every year, everyone wants to put in and buy a whole new set of tablets. What happened to the whole new set of tablets you bought last year, right? And that's what the auditors are asking, and that's why they say, you need to start tracking these items. If they are disappearing each and every year and you're trying to repurchase them over and over again, well, then your internal controls are failing because you're not keeping track of those items, you're not safeguarding them, you're not ensuring that they're being used for the program, and that's why you have to have some system in place to track those items. But they are defined as supplies. So there you go. Another definition that I want to highlight for you is this cooperative audit resolution. And we really were excited to see that put into the Omni Circular. Cooperative audit resolution has existed at the U.S. Department of Education since the late 1990s. However, every other federal agency has absolutely not been interested in adopting this type of method for resolving audit findings. And the nice thing about cooperative audit resolution is that it focuses on correcting the underlying issue and less on repayment of funds, right? And so as long as there's really comprehensive corrective actions, you work with the auditors, you can work with the U.S. Department of Ed or your oversight agency,